This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Boko Haram killed 19 Nigerian herders in clashes. Uganda's cabinet reshuffle sees 5 ministers dropped and appointed as advisors. And Egypt's government allocates $6.5 billion to support manufacturing. Hello and welcome to CGTN. Welcome to Africa Live with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also ahead on the program. Tunisia's National Statistics Institute survey shows the country's industry sector improvement in the third quarter. And South Africa's NGO group comes together to train and encourage girls in Alexandra Township. We start the broadcast in Burkina Faso, where the leaders of the G5 Sahel countries on Sunday visited the graves of 71 Niger soldiers killed in the western town of Inats days earlier. This was the worst jihadist attack on security forces in Niger in living memory. The Islamist militants killed the soldiers in an attack on a remote military camp in Niger near the border with Mali on Tuesday. The Islamist militants linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State have strengthened their foothold in the Sahel region, rendering some parts ungovernable. Though backed by France and the United States, nearly 3 years after its launch, the G5 Sahel remains perennially underfunded and hobbled by poor coordination.
It is more than necessary that we work quickly towards a fully capable joint force. It remains understood that the support of all the states in the region, as well as of those in the international community, is crucial to the outcome of our fight.
Meanwhile, Boko Haram jihadists gunned down 19 cattle herders on Saturday in the northeastern part of Nigeria. In an effort to end the armed attacks targeting their cattle, the ethnic Fulani herders pursued Boko Haram, sparking a fierce gunfight outside a village near Ngala, close to the border with Cameroon. The herders had earlier repelled an attack by Boko Haram, who invaded the village to steal livestock, killing one of the militants. Boko Haram have been raiding herding communities, seizing cattle to fund their operations. The insurgents have increasingly targeted farmers, herders and loggers, accusing them of spying and passing information to the military. The violence has spread to neighboring Niger, Chad and Cameroon, prompting the formation of a regional military coalition to fight the jihadists. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has announced a new cabinet but retained his deputy, the Prime Minister and Ministers of Defense and Finance. The announcement comes as the president, who has ruled for over 30 years, gears up for the 2021 election. Here's Isabel Nakiria with that report.
The cabinet reshuffle has seen about 5 ministers dropped and appointed presidential advisors. These include the Ministers of Energy, Works, Gender and Labor, and the Minister without portfolio. The Energy Ministry is on the spotlight over corruption allegations after money for the construction of the Isimba Dam was swindled. President Museveni has also appointed the man who fronted the lifting of the presidential age limit from the Constitution as Minister of Local Government. The move paved way for Mr. Museveni, who is now 75, to run for office again. Mr. Raphael Magezi's appointment has been criticized by some members of the public who say it was a reward for his efforts in uplifting the presidential age limit. The Ugandan president has maintained his wife, Janet Museveni, as the Minister for Education. Some of the oldest ministers, General Moses Ali and Kipchoge Ginger, have stayed as deputy prime ministers. They are over 75 years. The president has received a bashing on social media, with some people asking him to retire the old guard. Many of the ministers have been reassigned into other duties, while there are some new faces. President Museveni last made a cabinet reshuffle in March 2018. Isabel Nakiria, CGTN Kampala, Uganda.
To Egypt now, where the government has announced a $6.5 billion fund to support the manufacturing sector in the country. The aim is to get plants and factories affected by the political upheaval since 2010 to be up and running. CGTN's Yasser Hakim has the details.
There are about 5,200 closed factories because of debts. The government is helping these factories to reopen.
It's a three-part initiative by the government and the central bank. The first is to fund SMEs in the manufacturing sector. The second is to cancel debts and debt services on closed factories as long as they reopen and resume production. The third initiative is about real estate and land for the factories.
This is an initiative by the government to focus on industrialization. Scores of factories and plants have stopped production due to the political and economic stabilities of the last decade. Amr Fattouh owns a polyplast factory that has managed to survive the recession, but he says it wasn't easy.
There were many problems facing businesses. It started with the two uprising and their fallout. Then the burdens of economic reforms, also the devaluation of the Egyptian pound. It was tough at the beginning. There was no vision or plan for industries. Things are better now, but we must offer more facilities. Why should a businessman pay huge tariffs on purchasing equipment for his factory? He should be encouraged to import material for production. The bureaucracy is a stumbling block too. It must be abolished so the producer and the state can benefit.
The government has allocated $6.5 billion for this plan.
Imagine 5,000 products that you can produce instead of importing. We have to support these companies. We should also protect the ones that are already operating to ensure they are sustaining any difficulties. This will encourage other foreign businessmen to invest in the country.
This week, the central bank has shelled out $2 billion to pay off debts and interests on over 5,000 factories. There's about another $6 billion to support the private sector in establishing new industries as well. The target is to establish over 5,000 industrial institutions in the next year. More production means more revenue, more exports, and more job opportunities. Yes, Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
A survey of the National Statistics Institute in Tunisia showed that the situation and prospects of industrial enterprises during the third quarter of 2019 improved. Recent survey showed an improvement in industrial production compared to the second quarter. The report aims to assess the evolution of the activity of industrial professionals operating in different sectors.
921 business managers in the industrial sector were interviewed in the INS survey. They reported a stable pace of growth in industrial production in the third quarter of 2019 compared to the same period in 2018.
The industrial production indicator is one of the main pillars of the Tunisian economy and growth in general. It represents between 25 and 30% of the added value. It's used in evaluating economic growth, which stands at 1% in the last quarter.
The survey displayed a rise in the rate of output growth in the chemical industries, plus 2.2%, and mining, plus 24.3%, as a result of production of crude phosphate rising from 232.2 thousand tons in September 2018 to 372.1 thousand tons in the same period in 2019.
The phosphate production is on the rise in the third quarter due to stability in the mining zone. We are expecting even better results in 2020. Our goal is to produce 5 to 6 million tons next year.
The Director General of the Agency for the Promotion of Industry and Innovation noted that investment intentions have also picked up this year.
Some sectors contributed largely to investment intentions, especially the promising sectors like the textile, clothing and shoes, as well as the aircraft and automotive components manufacturing. Together, they boosted the volume of investment as well as job creation.
The INS also said that a production improvement is expected in the building materials sector during the fourth quarter. However, production is expected to decline in the agri-food and chemical industries. According to the National Institute of Statistics, the industrial managers in Tunisia have predicted that the level of demand will remain stable in the fourth quarter of 2019. They also reiterated the need to improve the business climate in the North African country. Adnan Shawashi, CGTN, Tunis.
The Senegalese government recently announced a 6 to 10% increase in the price of electricity. According to the country's national electricity company, the rise is due to a shortfall of at least $20 million recorded in 2019. The increase has not gone down well with the consumers. Some Senegalese citizen organizations have created a no-langue movement, which means we say no, to show their disagreement.
En 2016, certains pays voisins avaient révisé leurs tarifs d'électricité.
In 2016, some neighboring countries revisited their electricity prices. I would cite Ghana, Mali, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, and even France are all considering to do so. This trend is imposed on almost all oil and gas producing and even non-producing countries. Senegal, which is one of the same economic environment, could no longer continue to avoid the truth for prices.
I buy prepaid electricity before this increase with $17. I had electricity for 1 month. Now, with the same amount, I only have electricity for 10 days. It's too expensive for me.
We urge that the government stop this increase in the price of electricity. The increase will impact all sectors and all basic necessities will increase.
You're watching Africa Live, still ahead on the program. Cape Town prepares for minstrel New Year's parade. And Tunisia hosts a Persons with Special Needs music festival.
Each day, there are millions of stories. Each one can open new perspectives, new possibilities. Wherever you look, we are there to see, discover, explore. We put the pieces together to find what really matters to you, all around the world, all around the clock. Our reporters are at home across the globe. From our headquarters in Beijing and production centers in Washington, Nairobi, and London, China Global Television Network. Stories from across the globe, reaching people across the globe. CGTN. See the difference.
The Cape Minstrels are known for putting on a colorful show through the streets of Cape Town, South Africa. It is to celebrate the end of the old year and the start of a new one. Hundreds are currently working hard behind the scenes to make this year's festival a success. CGTN's Renee Delcam talks to a seamstress who's been creating costumes since the 1970s.
The countdown has begun to the Cape Minstrel Carnival to celebrate the end of 2019 and ring in the new year. And while the teams of minstrels prepare to dazzle the crowds, scores of seamstresses and tailors are working hard behind the scenes to stitch together their signature colourful costumes on time. For Cape Town seamstress Weber Alexandra, making the costumes of the iconic Cape Minstrels has always been a family affair. I've always loved it. I lived with my aunt for a few years, and every time at carnival time, we'd make the minstrels' outfits. When I moved out on my own, I continued cutting and sewing the minstrels' clothes. I've now been doing it for over 30 years, and I still have a passion for it. I have people helping me. We all work together, and we work very hard. Most of the materials used to make the Cape Minstrel costumes are imported from China. Every year, tons of brightly coloured satin, thousands of buttons, a sea of sequins, and heaps of creativity go into producing the best and brightest minstrel outfits. Weber and her team started working on the minstrels' costumes in her backyard factory in June this year. They have to complete over 2,000 of these suits by the 28th of December. We're starting to work even harder now as we approach the finish line. We have to push harder and work overtime to get the costumes done, because it must be done in time for the new year. The seamstresses are so excited and proud of their work, they even try on some of the costumes themselves. We do it really beautifully, because at the end of the day we want to achieve only the best. Every year we win the first prize for our team's costumes.
You know, it means a lot, because every time when I'm busy with the stuff, we change styles, we change the colors, and it's nice to see it, especially on TV. It's nice to see it on the road, and you feel proud when you look at the people that got it up. The colors is the main thing, and it's nice to look at your handwork.
And they are confident of taking top honours for the best dressed team of Cape Minstrels again this year. Renee Dalcom, CGTN, Cape Town, South Africa.
Meanwhile, artists, singers and musicians from Tunisia and other African countries flocked to Tunis for a unique cultural event organized to celebrate persons with special needs.
The Tunisian association IPSAR, or SITE in Arabic, organized the music festival. The joyful atmosphere at its international cultural event attracted talented people from all walks of life.
This musical festival is an opportunity for Tunisian and African artists to show their passion for music. They sing and play music for hope. The blind and the handicapped can put a unique imprint in art.
Samar is a student and singer. She discovered this stage at an early age. She learned Tunisian and Arabic classics by heart.
I study physiotherapy and I love to sing. Music makes me feel better. I'm alive on the stage. This festival introduced me to the audience. Blind and handicapped people have special needs, but their feelings and art are also very special.
This year's edition was marked by an important African participation. Artists from Algeria, Morocco, Egypt, Libya, Senegal, Sudan and other countries enjoyed the live music performances at the Municipal Theatre in Tunis.
The festival is an annual gathering of African talents. The situation of the blind is difficult in many African countries. We are trying to raise awareness about our cause.
The African Music Festival for the Blind and Handicapped paid tribute to American singer, songwriter and multi-instrumentalist Stevie Wonder, and to the Star of the East, the Egyptian singer and songwriter Kulthum. The African Music Festival for the Blind and Handicapped aims to become a platform for the blind and handicapped people and artists from Africa and the world. The 2020 edition will feature artists from 20 countries. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
And your sports news coming up next. Here's what's ahead. South Africa's NGO group comes together to train and encourage girls in Alexandria township. begin with some athletics news. The World Athletics Male Athlete of the Year, Eliud Kipchoge, has confirmed his participation in the 2020 London Marathon. The Kenyan roadrunner has confirmed his participation at the 40th edition of the event that will be held on Sunday, April the 26th next year. The marathon world record holder has won 4 editions of the London race and is the current course record holder, a record he set this year after cutting the tape in 2 hours, 2 minutes and 37 seconds. The 34-year-old is now the favorite to win the race after he managed to run an unofficial marathon in 2 hours, becoming the first man to do so. Kipchoge won the 2015 and 2016 edition before heading to the Rio Olympics, where he struck gold. He then failed to take part in the 2017 edition, but won the 2018 and the 2019 edition. The Frenchman Bafétimbi Gomez came off the bench to score the winner for Al Hilal with 15 minutes remaining in their FIFA World Cup quarter-final against Espérance Sportif de Tunis in Qatar on Saturday. Espérance started well with Badri getting close, but his shot went wide at the stroke of half-time. And Tunis keeper Ben Sherifia saved his side from Andre Carrillo's fierce shot. Early in the second half, the teams traded missed chances before Gomis opened the scoring in the 75th minute. Al Hilal came close again, but Omar Kerbin missed from 10 yards. With 5 minutes to go, the Asian champions would get a man sent off, ending the game as a 10-man. Al Hilal now book a date with the Brazilian side Flamengo on Tuesday.
I felt from outside of the pitch that Esperance at the beginning of the game tried to push and to impose their game, but because of our quality and of our organization, we pushed them back after 10-15 minutes, and for a long part of the first half we dominated with huge authority, having also the patience to move the ball and to upset the balance of Esperance. And when we did it, we created also important opportunities arriving in front of their goalkeeper.
The difference is the financial characteristics. The truth is that African clubs don't have the ability to buy well-known players for a lot of money, and that is ultimately the difference. And it is known, those kind of players that at any moment can make the difference. That is the reason. With regards to this tournament, there have been 11 matches between Asian and African teams, and 9 victories have been for teams for Asia and 2 for teams from Africa. If there weren't any foreign players in the game, then it would be a bit more even. But it is the foreign players that make the difference.
A group of non-governmental organizations has come together to train and encourage young girls in South Africa's Alexandra township, aiming at encouraging them to take up football. The move is driven by the momentum of the country's national women's team, the Banyana Banyana, at their World Cup debut earlier this year. CGTN's Julie Shire reports.
These little girls from Alexandra Township are playing their first friendly tournament. Many of them have not seen or touched a football before, but have learned to control and pass within just a few weeks of training.
The girls, they have the purpose, to also feel like it's not just for boys playing football, but they also have a chance also, to be participating in soccer, in football, because most of them already, they've got skills, they've got basics, they've got a very good foundation. So it was just a matter of time for them